I'm in need of a great big grin. I know where to go for some oxytocin when the whole world seems to be cold and mean. I know who to call for some dopamine. I'll be your Lucy, you'll be my Ethel, I'll be the Thelma, you'll be Louise, and we'll ride together till we reach the rainbow's end. Thank you for being my friend.
Welcome to Anatomy of Friendship. This is our F word show. We're starting with the friendship acronym, and we're going to be talking about F stands for fun and for free. And I am joined with Joey Sutton, aka Buffy Joe, so many nicknames. Hello, Joe.
Hello, Buffy.
Hello, Buffy. So, right before we started, Joey was sharing with me a poem she wrote about our show that may turn into a song, and maybe this song will end up becoming the intro and outro of the show. We don't know, but here it is in real time. Take it away, Joe. What are we doing here?
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking to get our friendship acronym into a poem, but it also needed a little bit of something on the front and the back end to sort of weave it together. So let's see how we do.
Okay.
Loving friends are medicinal when values are reciprocal. It raises oxytocin. This happy hormone is medicine. Serotonin wakes joy, calm, and feels good. Dopamine's pleasure satisfies soul food. We live longer, happier, juicier lives. If only our friends could be second wives. We are seen, safe,
Aren't
held,
we?
and understood only the way our deep friends could. Sing, dance, cry, and let it all out. Laugh, joke, complain, scream, or shout. Friendships flourish when they're for fun and for free, and when we take radical responsibility. We must see each other in our innocence. Ending entitlement just makes sense. We got to be naked in our hearts and souls and provide real dignity with each of our goals. Creating safety and trust sets us all free. We can hold ourselves when we're feeling tiny. When I say I am all of it, we stay connected. The purpose of friendships is to be respected. Honoring the bond as a sacred partnership are the valuable nutrients that make a friendship.
That's what we're doing here.
That's what
Mic
we're
drop,
doing.
curtsy, done. Oh my God, I love you so much. That is beautiful. So that,
Mm.
if you didn't hear the introduction episodes, we are going to be breaking down this friendship acronym, and Joey got them all in one little elegant, beautiful poem. Okay, so we're starting with for fun and for free.
The F word.
The F word, the ultimate F word. I just want a little context. One of the things we talked about in the intro was kind of our why, and it's just interesting timing that again, I just heard another person unrelated talk about a best friend ghosting them. And I think this is a thing about people being close, 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 and then nothing. And I actually, if I really put my radar on it, I could probably call to mind, I'm starting to think of other people who have been ghosted by friends. And I've been, I wouldn't say ghosted by best friends, but had very, very dear people in my life that suddenly, like one bump in the road, and that was it. That was the end of the relationship. So it just makes me feel ever more grateful for having this friendship, and just the part of the context is this is kind of this friendship acronym is about what to do when the shit hits the fan, when we are in a little bit of a breakdown moment, so that we have a tool. And this is a whole bunch of tools and rules and schmools, but let's just
And
start with the
Jules.
first one, and Jules. So I'm going to let you tee it off if you want to start with what comes to mind with for fun and for free.
Mm. Well, I want, you know me with the caveats. I want you to go into it, but let me do the caveat thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
If you haven't listened to our intros, we really suggest you listen to our intros
Yeah.
because there's like disclaimers and caveats inside of all of those. But just the caveat again, I believe that we keep talking about how for fun and for free is going to be the most controversial of all of the letters of the acronym because it sounds like, well, if it's easy for me, sure, no problem. But if it's any sweat off my back, forget it. And what kind of a friend is that? And
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
I'm so glad we have a whole hour to go back and forth on this because we always kind of hit some, disclaimers and bumps and things when we talk about for fun and for free. And this is very specifically toward friendships. Um, though we have a tendency when we talk about this whole acronym, we run it through our relationships and we run it through business and we run it through all sorts of things to see, why something doesn't feel good. But the for fun and for free one, the reason we call it the F word is because maybe because it smacks a little bit selfish. It feels a little bit selfish to the average eye. Oh, so if it's not for fun and for free, then you don't feel like doing it. If you have to go out of the way, you're out of your way for me, or you wouldn't drop everything for me if I needed you to, or, I need you now, or like, And, we talked a lot about how the particular kind of person you and I are, the way that we match in some parts of the way our personality was formed in like sort of the independent way of being has made this an easier thing for the two of us
Mhm.
to do with each other.
Mhm.
Um, Maybe you should define for fun and for free before I go on and on about it, because I feel like
Okay.
you need to, and I want you to do the definition.
Okay, so this is super, super, I mean, ditto, copy and paste everything you said. Um, so I want to start with Rumi, as I mentioned in one of the introduction pieces. He says, never give from the depth of your well, only give from your overflow. And that to me, when I heard that, it like rung so many bells. And it also smacked of like, wait, that's against all the rules. I thought you give from your well. What do you mean only give from the overflow? But it makes so much sense because I I know when it's okay, let me go back also another place to 12 step programs. When I was steeped in 12 steps, which I'm not as steeped in anymore, but it's at the foundation of my spiritual path. When I heard about the giving being for fun and for free, it means give without expectation that you're going to get anything back. And if you're giving something that you need back, you probably shouldn't give it. Unless it's like a 911, like if someone's life is at stake and they're starving and maybe you've got an extra sandwich but you kind of wanted it, but it's like, you can handle like give them the extra sandwich, I guess. I mean, so we could get all kinds of disclaimery about it, but I think there's a general sense when I think about, should I reach out, should I do something, I have to check in with myself. There's like a place in me and I say, is it for fun and for free? And if I really feel like it is for fun and for free, then I can say yes because I feel like it's clean. It feels like it's coming from a pure place in me without a thousand hooks. So another little back story. Dana and I, for whatever reason, we've attracted a whole bunch of Buddhist monks into our lives, even though neither of us are Buddhists and neither of us are monks, but we've just had occasion to be around a lot of monks. And there was this one day we were in Big Sur, and we had been around this group of monks for a while. They were staying at this compound we were living at. And I noticed that every time somebody gave them a gift, they would say this particular prayer. They would bow graciously, receive whatever the gift is, a flower, a drink, a scarf, a token, whatever it was. And I asked the monk that spoke the best English what was in that prayer, because I started to notice, oh, I'm hearing the same prayer over and over. And he said, basically, the prayer is, thank you so much for your kindness. I will receive this, but without any strings that may be attached, or any attachments or expectations, or any of the like convoluted shit that can sometimes be wrapped around a beautiful gift. So, yes, I will receive it and take it in graciously, and may it multiply blessings back to you, but there are no strings attached. So, it's kind of like this dividing and dropping all the caca that goes on top of this seeming
Giving.
thing. Like somebody
Mhm.
might think, I'm giving a monk a flower. That means they better give me some extra attention, or they better give me extra dharma points, or I'm going to get this out of it. So this prayer is like, let me cut through the shit and get to the pure place, and let's relate there, because every gift is probably laced with a bit of shit. And I don't want the shit. That's not good for me. It's not good for you. So I'm getting rid of it, so that there can be just this pure exchange of love and energy that becomes sustainable, kind of like a hybrid car. If I'm driving in my, I've got a RAV4 hybrid. If I'm driving in just the right way of giving, like in that right place, I will never run out of gas. It's conceivable that I could go hundreds of miles and never run out of gas if I'm in the sweet spot with the giving and the recharging. But if I give too much, or I'm too slow, then it drains the battery. So it feels like it's coming from that place. The what makes it sweet is when I give something that feels good to give, and it doesn't take anything away, but it's received in a way that is like, oh, wow, great, thank you. It's icing on the cake. And that creates an energy that creates more giving, and thus more space to receive. And now I'm passing the talking stick back to you, because I'm just going on. All right.
No, that was really good. That was really, really good.
What about you?
Well, this is making me think about when I had my surgeries and I lost my profession in 1 second and had to sell everything I owned because I had to recover and I couldn't work. And I was, I was a hairdresser working physical labor for dollars. So without being able to work, there were no
Right.
dollars. And so that was a really intense time. And I remember the thing that I struggled most with was getting help. I did not want to receive from people. It freaked me out that I was so helpless and in this position of need. And then I remember one of my oldest friends, one of my oldest besties, Melissa, she came over and she said, and you've heard the story, but I think it goes well here. She said, giving is the greatest gift in the world, right? And I'm like, yes. And she says, and you're really good at it, right? And I'm like, yes. She says, but if you don't receive from others, then you deprive others of the greatest gift in the world. And my codependent heart was like, oh, so receiving is giving to people. Okay, as long as it's still a gift. But then later on, I kept asking myself, why is it so hard to receive, Joey? Why? And I thought, well, maybe I don't want people to give to me the way I give. If they're giving to me the way I give, there may be some manipulation. There may be some strings. There may be some survival tactics in there. Like, well, if I give, then you'll like me. And if you like me, then I'm good. And then I'm valuable. And like, oh my God, I totally understand why the monks do those prayers. Because even I, who thought I was so generous and kind, there was like sticky strings all over it. And so I said to myself, you know what, the only way I can become a good receiver is if I can't become a cleaner giver. If I give more cleanly, then when people give to me, I will receive from the same place that I give from. And if they're giving from a string place, that has nothing to do with me. I will receive from the fun and for free place. You're giving it to me, I will receive it. So that's the story that just came up in me when you said that, because the giving thing, I think so many of us have a tally. I mean, in our relationships, we have a little tally. I cooked dinners 3 times and I also did the dishes, but you didn't even take out the trash. Like there's this tally thing that we have in our head. Transactional. Right. Yeah. And so I think for fun and for free is a really radical concept, which requires us, as you and I have talked about so many times, it requires us to have a really intense relationship with whatever that divine source is, so that we get our wholeness from that source and stop trying to get that wholeness from others, either from their giving or
Right.
from us giving in a way that's manipulative with
Right.
strings. Like this sort of horizontal giving, taking thing is not where we get satisfied. I think it's like a vertical, like from source to self, grounded to the earth. If we're giving from there, and this is a high quality conversation, this is a first world conversation we're having right now. There's a lot of people who are like, Mother Teresa's like, don't feed people God before you feed them food. They're hungry, like, so
Yeah,
we're
but then
having a bit of a first world
The
conversation.
Brahma
What?
Kumaris, the Brahma Kumaris do the opposite. They say feed the spirit, then feed the body. That's like they feed thousands of people a day, but they do a prayer and a meditation first because they say if the spirit isn't filled, then the body will never get filled.
Never be. Ooh, that's interesting.
I know. So that kind of flips that thing. And I think that that totally ties in here because you and I we're having this conversation with and all our friends are invited. So we're sitting around a little campfire with a whole bunch of friends and an intimate group of friends. But we're learning as we go. So we're not at the top of any mountain top right now. We're every top we get to, we realize, oh, there's another top. But so I think things are gonna change as we go along here. But may I dip in here for a sec?
Dip.
So while dip, while we've been talking about what is this friendship metaphor for a while, I started kind of unofficially interviewing people in my life about like what is friendship to you. And one of the first things my nephew and his group of friends all said is, number one, that person has your back no matter what. And I'm like, oh, ouch, that kind of goes right against for fun and for free. And I started to talk about for fun and for free and it glazed over them. It's so I feel like you're right. There's something. I think a lot of people might think a best friend or a friend is somebody who will drop, if you say, I'm having a moment, you drop everything and you suit up and show up. But how often are we going to lay down the 911 card? How often? Maybe that's going to happen a lot, and maybe we can't. And I don't know that I want you to show up for me if it's going to cause radical imbalance in your life. So I feel like the for fun and for free sort of implies an inherent relative wholeness within ourselves. And we've talked about a lot of that comes from our primary relationship with our partner, but then I've even looked at that and said, no, 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 like that helps to add a sense of stability, but really that's not it. It comes from my connection with God. And I think it comes from like you said, it comes from our spiritual connection to whatever it is we call it. And I think even the atheists I know have a connection to nature, have a
Nature.
connection to love, have a connection with something that's higher than the fallible humans in our lives, because humans are inherently fallible. I loved that Pat Allen, the relationship expert, author of Getting to I Do and many other books, she said, every human is flawed. There isn't a single perfect one available for dating or available for friendship in this realm. It's just not possible. So we have to just build in the fact that we're only going to have fallible friends. There's not a perfect one available ever. And it doesn't mean that we don't try to be our best. Of course we do. But we're not going to be 100% met by any human. So to set us up for you're always going to be there for me. I think the idea is with you and I will be there to the degree that I am able to. And if you ever do, which is rare, I don't think you've ever really sent me a 911. I don't know that I've sent you
Yes, I have. We've done some
a
911s.
couple. Okay, but those are
We've had
few.
some pockets of
We've had a
911s,
few
but we do
pockets
not
or
abuse
even
it.
811s.
Yeah.
And anything like a 411 is like, hey, checking in, I've got a question about something. No big deal. But anything up above a 711 is kind of like if we can stop and drop, then we do. But if we can't, we don't. And there's no
Right.
guilt trip on the
Right.
back end. And to me, the guilt trip is poison. It
Yeah.
is absolute, what is that Superman thing?
Kryptonite.
Kryptonite. It's
Yeah.
kryptonite.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know that we're all, I mean, it's not that it's not recoverable. We could recover from, if I hurt your feelings and you got mad at me and I felt guilty about that, we can of course deal with that. But I think when I get upset, and I've tried this a few times with my husband, and I don't know if you got to hear this in the most recent download I left you, Joe, but even with, I noticed with my book that's out, I noticed I was having sort of a heavy feeling around it. And I decided to run my book through the friendship formula. And starting with for fun and for free, I realized, oh my God, I am not for fun and for free with my book. I had have tos and shoulds all over it. So I had to recalibrate my connection, even with an inanimate object, with my work, with my job, with my clients, with every single thing except for my connection with God. That is not for fun and for free. I have demands on God. And I feel like God has demands on me, and I like it that way. Sometimes I'll just say, God, fix it. God damn it, God, get in here and do what you got to do. And I need to do my part to, like, and it's always about my part. It's never about God's part. My little bratty human thinks it is. Okay, I'm passing back to you. What did you hear in that, or what else do you got?
Well, I think the part that really struck me was when you were talking about your nephew
Mhm.
saying, "You've got my back." And I lost a best friend, a 35-year best friend, because I disagreed with her.
Not a 35-year-old best friend, but a friend for 35
5
years
years. Yeah.
because you
That's a
disagreed with her.
I disagreed with her. That's not the only reason I lost it. I
There was
lost it because I disagreed, and then, we didn't
there was a
handle our
cascade.
disagreement well, and then uh evasive afterward and not available, and like didn't talk it out. Like it was, yeah. So I don't want to go into the content of that, but let's just say this particular friend had a, "You have my back. You have my back, whether you agree with me or not." And I'm like, no, that's not the rule game I play by. Like, Buffy, if you did something that I thought was wrong.
FYI, if you're wondering who Buffy is, Joey and I have many nicknames for each other, and one of them happens to be Buffy. This refers back, way back, to Sarah Michelle Gellar's portrayal of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Okay, back to the program.
I would say, like, I think you have something to take responsibility for. I would say that to you, but you and I play by the same set of rules. So
Right.
this other friend and I did not play by the same set of rules. I was like, no, that was fucked up what you did. And I think you owe that person an apology. And that was just not good for the rest of us. That whole rule, it's almost like there was a cascade of distrust and avoidance after that, due to the fact that there was such a dissonance, and we didn't have the same agreement. So there, it shattered all the rest of the rules, like our trust, our safety, my comfort to tell the truth about how I felt, listening to her. Like, it just all shattered. It was like the whole foundation went because we didn't have this one agreement.
I know there's a few things. I feel like a lot of the acronym, the parts of the acronym will relate to this,
Mhm.
but I totally get what you're saying. I mean, it I'm just going to jump in a kind of a sideways place. Um, After coming out of a painful relationship like that, a breakdown like that, because we expect that we have this long-term friendship, just like the person I was just sharing with, that her best friend ghosted her after probably 35, I don't know how many years, but multiple decades. There's an assumption will last forever, like all of this time equals permanence, but it doesn't. Because if there is something faulty at the base, and we might have agreed unconsciously that, yeah, I'll be there for you, even if we don't say those words, there might be that agreement. But coming out of it, Like I was talking to this kind of new friend of mine about her friend that ghosted her, and I was saying maybe new friendships can be based on have a new agreement that, yeah, maybe like let's talk about the having your back no matter what. That's a separate thing. But there's also the piece of let's how do we handle upsets and how do we actually communicate about them, not just go away, but how do we address them at least in a way like maybe we're never going to see eye to eye. Maybe it comes down to dignity, the D in our friendship metaphor, which will our acronym that we'll get to later. But the dignity piece is partly like we don't always have to agree. We don't always have to be on the same page, but I trust your process and it's okay. Like, and in some way, radical responsibility is also about it's really hard for me to be honest with you right now, but I don't agree with what you just said. I'm, there's there, okay, I'm wiping the slate clean and just saying what I think works about us is that there's conscious agreements, not just I'm sure we have some unconscious agreements, but mostly we've got these conscious agreements for what we do when the bleep hits the fan. And it's okay that you disagree with me. It's okay because you give me the dignity of my process. I give you the dignity. And I expect you to tell me if you don't agree with me and if you don't align with something. I don't want you to pretend that you do, even if you really don't. That's a whole different thing. I mean, I think having your back, that was another piece of my nephew's friend's conversation. Having your back. I feel like there's two different ways to look at that. I feel like I fundamentally do have your back because I fundamentally know who you are and I know your innocence. That's another one of our little pieces of the acronym. So knowing that, I support you, I stand with you in solidarity with you. I'm aligned with that. And I'm aware that we are works in progress and we're going to screw up. And I expect you to tell me the truth. I expect you to tell me if I've got broccoli in my teeth and if your underwear's pantyhose is your skirt's tucked into your pantyhose. It's like,
Oh God,
sorry, don't want to have to be the one to tell you this, but
that's a
isn't that
terrible,
like,
that's a terrible visual.
oh,
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah. Well,
hard.
that's
It's
the
an F word.
definition. That's our definition of having each other's backs is we both have because of our commitment to the R in friendship, radical responsibility, because of that commitment, it's like each one of these that we have agreements on makes us have each other's back even more. Because like, yes, we agree on for fun and for free. Yes, we don't abuse the 911 or the 811. Yes, we both fervently look for radical responsibility for everything that's created in our lives. And we care and believe and project innocence onto the other and never would assume there's any intention to harm one another. And we don't feel entitled and we feel safe to be naked and we honor each other with dignity. And that safety is grown because of that. And we know how to hold ourselves. So if we have a 911 and the other person doesn't answer, we're okay. It's not like, where were you? I called you. No, you're not the only one in the world. You're not my God. You're not the only one.
Or I might say, wow, I was really disappointed. And that's mine to manage because because I've screwed up in our friendship. I've had expectations that I didn't even know I had, and I got huffy. But I feel like the rule is to say, wow, I got really huffy. I need to check myself. Oh my gosh, and I need to drink some tea.
Yeah. Like, what was my expectation? What was the setup?
Yes,
Right. But
it's
that's
not
radical responsibility is looking for you're looking for responsibility for why you got disturbed.
right. Exactly. So going back to another aspect, another facet of the diamond of for fun and for free is to consider that what we have, a friendship is a miracle. It's like by the grace of God. And we talk about this in the episode that's on my Kelly Sullivan Walden show on gratitude.
Gratitude.
It's like to consider that every moment is extra. And this is kind of related to the entitlement aspect or the end entitlement, and they're all going to overlap, and somebody's whistling, hey there. But to just be in the reality is that this is an ode to me. Everything about
Sounds like a bird, sort of. A bird
everything is
child.
extra. It's extra.
Right.
It's extra. It's extra.
Hello, friend. So, this is the space in our show where we would normally do a commercial, but since we're a new show, we don't have sponsorship yet. We're going to do it a little differently. But if you have a product or service that you think our friends would be interested in, then reach out to us ASAP at info@anatomyoffriendship.com. And in the meantime, Joey and I have a couple things up our sleeves. So, Joe, what's up yours? What's up yours? What's in your sleeves rattling around?
Well, as a holistic health counselor, I have a few slots available left on my book. And I'm really excited right now about the communication strategies I've been studying regarding neurodivergence and speaking to people who are struggling. And that's a massive thing going on in our world right now. Cal?
You are so good at that. Oh my goodness. So what I've got going on is you can go to my website, kellysullivanwalden.com. And if that's too hard to spell, go to ihadthestrangestdream.com. And there's a place where you can book a private session with me if you've got dream questions. Also, I've got my books and oracle cards on there. Speaking of oracle cards, the latest one that just came out is Wild Dreams Animal Oracle. This is from Blue Angel Publishing, and this has 44 animals. So it's kind of about like, what if you dream about animals, what are they trying to tell you? Mostly, spoiler alert, they're trying to tell you to just let loose and become more of your wild, fully expressed, passionate self.
You are like the most delicious extra icing on my cake. I have to, for the love of God, people.
Our
Somebody is being
quiet,
very demanding.
our quiet is extra,
extra.
and that noise is normal, right?
Exactly. Exactly. It's so true. So it's like a flipped perspective. Just because I've had all this time with you and all these sacred moments doesn't mean I'm owed the next one. The next moments I get are by the grace of God. Okay, so let's just dial this into practical practice, how we are with somebody. So if somebody asks me for something, then, if there's a request, I feel like the simple version of it is I run it through my body and I ask myself, if I did this thing, is it for fun and for free? Meaning I don't need to get anything back. And
It's your pleasure to give.
It's my pleasure to give. Pleasure to give. P.S. Because any giving that isn't a pleasure is tainted with poison. It's kind of like cyanide.
Set up for resentment.
A setup for resentment. If somebody gives to me when it's not for fun and for free, it hurts me. It takes away my dignity. It feels yucky. It feels gross. And I've given from that place or expected from that place. And oh my gosh, there's almost nothing that brings out the monster in me more than when I think somebody owes me something. And it's like the universe just kind of sets it up. So if I expect something to come from anywhere, I don't know. I can't call. I mean, actually, there is a particular thing. This is so embarrassing. It's awful. When I was running the Dream Project, there was somebody that was supposed to write a check for the Dream Project. And they said they would do it. And we really needed it at a time that we needed it. And they're like a bazillionaire. So it seemed like great. And all the communication we had, he just kept not doing it. And I found myself like feeling like it was already mine. I did like, where was it? I was in my own mind, even though to him, I I acted fine, but on the inside, I was full of poison to him. I was angry at him. So this goes into entitlement. I felt entitled, but I was not in the for fun and for free. I had massive expectations. So I think there's like three parts. There's the giving that has to be for fun and for free. And even when we think we want something, we have to remember, no, no, no. I'm in it with this person for fun and for free. So if I'm not getting anything, it has to be like, it's okay. If it's not coming in from them, it's fine because it's all extra. And it just means that I need to realign. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's making me think of how many different ways we choose where our friends and business partners or whatever, where they land inside of our rings of Saturn. I mean, there are,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say it's an expectation, but I had a 12-step teacher once say that he and his wife used to compete for generosity. Who could be the most generous,
Mm-hmm.
And so there's lots of people that I've given to that are happy to receive what I give, and there isn't much reciprocation. And that's okay, because sometimes, as long as it's okay with me, as long as what I'm giving is for fun and for free. And they say when you tithe, you don't always get back from where you're tithing to. Like, you give to church, but you get back from, who knows, some weird check comes in, or some strange, person just ends up being so kind and generous, and you find $100 bill, or like, you never know
But
where the
it's all
generosity
without
is going to come back
expectation.
from. Right. But, then I just want, because we're trying to anchor this here into reality, because when I
Mm-hmm.
take it from platitude to reality, sometimes there's relationships where just maybe I was giving too much, hoping for an outcome, whether it was getting something back or hoping for an outcome. Like, my giving would cause an outcome of glory. My giving would cause a healing in that person. My giving would cause, like, it's like, this is where we talk about taking off our superhero capes. What's the giving driven by?
Right.
Is and
It's like the
and
social
so,
currency of it all. Like, I'm building
right.
up my social currency so that when I need something,
Yeah.
oh, you'll owe
Or
me,
even this, like,
or
my
you'll think I'm the
spiritual
best.
currency, like doing spiritual malpractice is giving in a particular way, like I'm generous and I'm of service, but some part of me is expecting an outcome, like, well, if I'm going to be of service to this person and I'm going to give and give and give, then the outcome needs to be, they need to be well. I'm not even asking of them to give back to me.
Ooh,
Like,
oh,
I need them to be
damn.
well because I was so of service to this person who was struggling,
Ooh.
that they need to be well because I gave so much. And it's like, that's a skewed way of giving. That's not for fun and for free. That's not even expecting
Ooh.
from them. That's like me expecting of God, and I hear so many people speak about God like it's Santa Claus. Like, if I'm just good enough, then I'll get the present. And how come I got the lump of coal instead of that? I was so good all year. Why is this happening to me? I'm like, God is not Santa Claus. God gave you life. God gave you free will. The laws of physics are in effect. Action, reaction, go. Like, that's all you
Oh,
get.
honey.
But the
That
other
is
thing I wanted
good.
to say regarding something you said earlier, which was you're giving, and it's okay. They don't want to give back. That's okay. Well, it is okay, but it's also okay if I hit a limit on my fun and for free giving. Like, it's
Mhm.
no longer for fun and for free, maybe because I do like some reciprocation. So I don't want to be resentful toward them. But if I keep giving in that direction, I will be. So I'm
There
going
you
to
go.
stop. I'm going
Right.
to stop giving in that direction because it's no longer for fun and for free. And yeah, I do prefer a more reciprocal relationship. And so I love giving to you and you love giving to me. And we're so in the black, there's no tallying up going on because we're so in the black. I mean, I just chronically, constantly feel like yeah, okay, life was challenging, if challenging for everyone, and my challenges were hard for me. And God's like, okay, here's an angel for all those challenges. Here you go. You know,
See? See what I deal with?
here's
Oh, that's
Zena.
so copy and paste, copy and paste.
All right, but let me
Oh,
add one more thing. Can I add another thing?
of course, of course.
Okay. So the other thing, I know you have notes and you want to say stuff.
I
The other
do.
thing I want to say is I notice, like you were saying, when you give to someone and they receive it generously, or when they give back to you lovingly, it's like that's inspiring to give more.
Mhm.
It's inspiring to receive more from the person that gives for fun and for free, and for the person that receives for fun and for free. That's like, oh, I want to give to that person that really appreciates me. That feels really, really good.
Mm.
So having said that, I know that through all of our years of friendship, and I remember with Firestar, this was also one of our goddess women in our beautiful goddess circle.
Mhm.
If I made a mistake or I apologize to you or to Firestar, specifically, I have certain events that I have in my mind, and you both were like, it's no problem. Or if I had to change a plan, oh, it's no problem, no worries. Or if I, said I was sorry for something and they're like, you're like, oh God, I'm sorry for this part of it. There was just like a way in which I started to build my trust for these
Mhm.
people, you and Fire
Mhm.
in particular in this conversation.
Mhm.
Um, where I was like, oh, I could be more honest. I could give more honestly. I could say no more honestly because
Yes. Oh.
I
Uh-huh.
wasn't met with anger, disappointment, or frustration, or gritting of teeth, or bad energy. Like there was a real feeling of like, give honest give your
Mm.
honest generosity and it grows more generosity. And like you got to have credit to get credit, you got to have money to make money. Like there's
Mhm.
this thing of building of safety and trust that I specifically remember that helped me to go, God, this is how I always want it to be. I know I think you have plenty of notes and I could go on and on, so I'm gonna take a
Oh
sip
no,
and let
I'm
you.
I'm so loving that. And I think bottom line for me is it's about really trusting. And I think what you said is really important, that you can say that there's room in this friendship for a no. If it's not, like, even if you really want something from me, if I really don't have it to give, that it's safe to say the unpopular thing. It's safe to say, like, I think we, at least the Barbie doll part of me.
Oh my heavens. This was recorded right before I saw the Barbie movie, the one directed by Greta Gerwig. When I previously referred to Barbie as an ideal, codependent, people pleasing fake persona I used to try to live up to. But the Barbie movie has since rendered that old way of perceiving Barbie completely invalid. Thank you, Greta Gerwig and Margot Robbie. Okay, back to the show.
That has this people pleasing sense of what people want to know, what they want to hear, what they want from me. I feel like I always know what that script is, and it's painful and hard to go off script, to go based on what's true for me. But it feels like it's safe to do that. In fact, it's not only safe to do that, it's required that I do that, because in order to keep the wheels greased in this relationship, there has to be this not spending of inordinate amounts of time saying, are you sure? Are you sure? Well, you said you could do that thing, but are you sure it's okay? Are you sure? It's like, no, no, no. We are sure. If I say yes, I'm going to do this thing, it's because it's for fun and for free. It becomes a get to on my part. And if you volunteer or something that you give to me, and as hard as it is, I have to think, no, no, no. She is in the for fun or for free game with me. So this isn't taking from her. And we might check in a little because we're not taking each other. Are you sure? I think we give like permission to maybe ask 3 times max. Are you sure? Are you really sure? Are you sure? Sure. Okay. 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 I'll receive. Okay. I'm giving. Like, so that we ultimately, as we evolve, I think we won't even have to do any of the are you sures.
Yeah.
We trust that the yes means yes and the no means no. And the no doesn't mean no, I don't love you. No, I don't like you. It just means this is the capacity that I have at this moment. And if I give beyond that, then I go into the unbalanced zone. And unless it's a true 911, a 911 is a different negotiation. I can get a little unbalanced if it's a 911. I will be fine.
Well,
And
yeah,
I
we both
trust
are
that
willing
you
to
will
pay
be
for that. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So I think that's the job, is to trust each other and to trust ourselves. And it does feel like I mean, even from a human design perspective, there's for people who aren't familiar with human design, look it up. We're both human design analysts, but
It's a
there's
personality typing system. So just for context.
yeah, and there's this element of human design that talks about the tribal, the collective, and the individual way of being. And I think the tribal way of doing friendship is I have your back and I'll be there no matter what. Come hell or high water, I got you. And I know you got me. Right? And then we would ghost each other if one of us failed to fulfill that covenant. That's where I believe ghosting comes from a tribal covenant that isn't sustainable in the real life, the real world. And I think there's the collective perspective that's a bit more maybe platitudish, that's a bit more of the thou shalt, and about a bit more of the in the bigger perspective. I think we're sort of somewhere in the collective, in the kind of the larger perspective that isn't so survival mode oriented. It's a bit more big picture oriented. I think we're kind of mixing the collective with the individual, because I think we're both very, like, we both identify in many ways as being very individualistic. We both have entrepreneurial paths in our lives. There's a lot of spirit and creativity, and we tend to attract people in our lives that are living similarly, that are carving their own path. We don't really live in a prescribed conventional way. Um, I think so. I think this is also not a traditional way of looking at friendship,
Mm.
but from my perspective, it feels like it's the only thing that really, really works. And for fun and for free, I think at the end of the day, if somebody was only going to pay attention to any one part of our friendship formula, I might lie and say this about every single one of the letters in this acronym, but I think the for fun and for free is so essential. It's like one of the bedrock pillars of our
Mm.
friendship temple. And it gives, and it, I think the why in it is that it gives a lot of space and a lot of breadth and a lot of get to with, I would say, zero or next to zero have to. I don't know that I feel any have to,
Mm.
honestly. And so I feel inspired. Everything about this friendship feels like a yay and a yes and a get to, without one little bit of uh.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to let you finish this up and wrap it in a bow. Wrap it in a scarf.
Oh my God. I don't know if I can.
Anything that we missed, anything else?
Yeah, I think we may have touched on for a moment when we were going over the F in the first episode. We were talking about running the friendship acronym through parenthood and how far away for fun and for free a lot of it was, because
Oh, yes. Good, good,
new
good.
parents are such exhausted, if you, like I was saying, if you don't have a kid that sleeps like 10 hours a night and is so easy, and don't have plenty of money and two parents and food is easy, and I don't know, like, you're giving from your well a lot. So it's not like you never give from your well for anything or anybody. That's not, true. And we are making this a friendship acronym, though we play with running it through everything else. But I just want to say, as a parent with a child who, didn't sleep for 4 years because he was ill, I didn't sleep either. And so, for all the people that listen through the ears of, but what about this situation? What about this situation? What about this situation? There's going to be a million situations where we make a choice not to do something for fun and for free. There's a price that we pay when we do something that's not for fun and for free. There's a price that we pay. And sometimes we're willing to pay the price. Just like sometimes, I interrupted your dinner 5 nights in a row because I was having a breakup and I had to talk to you right then and there. So, I generally, don't interrupt your dinner, and you generally don't interrupt my dinner. Like, we have really full, busy lives. We both have lots of clients and lots of things to do and lots of projects and books and deadlines and friends and family. And like, it's really, really full. So we're never really sitting around with our feet up going, what are you doing? Nothing. Yeah, no. I'll call you from the toilet because it's the only time I have. That's what I said to you today. You're like, do you have a minute? I know I can call you from the toilet between clients though. And you're like, it's okay. We can talk later. But I would have called you from the toilet. Anyway, so I just want to say for whoever's listening, like, I feel like we're barely scratching the surface of For Fun and For Free. And this is the end of this particular episode. So next week will be radical responsibility, and we'll always circle around to all of them. But I just, I want to say that this relationship is like, it's like a millionaire relationship. We're like millionaires with each other, billionaires with each other, where when you give from your overflow. When I give from my overflow. And because I'm not starving in the area that I need you, I don't feel disappointed. I feel constantly like whipped cream all the time. And I give to you, and you're so grateful. And my God, who do I want to give to? I want to give to the person that's grateful for my giving. I want to give to the person that appreciates me. So you get more because I love to give to you more. And you love to give to me because I'm so grateful. And so should everyone be this way? No, but if you want to be inspired to give, if you want to be inspiring to give too, you want to be really, really grateful and be for fun and for free. So that's the bow.
That is such a perfect bow with a perfect mic drop. I love you, Joe. Thank you so much. Everyone listening, thanks for being our friends. And if this is resonant to you, we'd love to hear your feedback, what you like, what you don't like, what's controversial about this, how this is working for you in your own personal friendship formula. So until we meet again, thanks for being our friend.
Ah.
Thank you for joining us on Anatomy of Friendship.
If this has been helpful to you, or if you have questions or comments,
Please share them with us at anatomyoffriendship.com.
if you haven't yet, take a moment to follow, like, and subscribe to our show.
And don't forget to share it with a friend or two or few.
Special shout out to Dana Walden at Love Hub Productions for being our engineer, producer, and for writing our friendship song.
And Karina Grandma for being the voice of our song. Take it away, Karina.
Thank you.